Hello everyone, and welcome to my new viewer special slash Let's Look At, and that's going to be Let's Look At Our Darker Purpose. But before we start with the whole thing, I want to thank you guys very much for watching my channel, upwards of 75,000 views, and we're getting more views every month. Like seriously, last month we almost hit 10,000 views. Some YouTubers go, that's small potatoes. Me, I'm like, holy crap. Like I used to get like 10 a week. So yeah, I'm happy, thank you guys. But as you can see, our darker purpose is similar, but not a copy of Binding of Isaac. It's a lot shorter than Binding of Isaac, and if I may say, actually, just about as difficult, maybe a little easier. And I say that only because I've never been able to actually complete Binding of Isaac, but I have been known to beat this game rarely. Not a lot, but rarely. But I will say the boss fights are actually, they're intuitive, and they're actually kind of challenging if you are, actually I guess some boss fights are a lot more challenging than others, it depends which ones you get, and I don't think there's quite as many bosses as in Binding of Isaac, but I don't want to compare the game purely to Binding of Isaac. It's just that genre of game, you know what I'm talking about here. I love the art style. That's a big thing. The art style I love in this. Whoever made these sprites or whatever these are, I'm not a game designer. I don't know what this particular art style or game employs, but it looks like sprites. But I like the whole atmosphere. You're in a school, and it's pretty much everybody for themselves. Imagine what high school was, except people can actually, harm each other without getting in detention. That's pretty much what this is. And who doesn't want to, beat some bullies up? Of course, you're going to be doing that by throwing. I have no idea what she's throwing right now, come to think of it. But, you can use chalk, which is, one of those. I don't know if you want to go realism or not, but you ever, use two erasers and then just bang them together? You remember how annoying that was? Yeah, that's, I think, a maneuver. If you hit R, if you look on the bottom right there, or bottom, you can see that's what you do. I think it does, 50 damage. It's not a whole lot of damage, but... I mean, it's good for AoE, but I tend to not utilize it nearly as much as I should. But then you can level up, and choose different bonuses. Personally, I prefer move speed over damage. And that was just plain stupid damage there. I prefer move speed because a lot of enemies in this game are very fast. Very fast. And if you don't have move speed, it's not impossible, it's just a lot more difficult. Actually, I guess I'm not really a good authority on what's possible and what's not, but it is a lot easier with some move speed. You don't have to stack move speed, every level up you don't have to get it, but... it's good to have some. So whenever you run into the runners, or I don't know what they're actually called, but they basically just run at you. You'll see them, I'm sure, soon here, but... For those who are curious about the controls are WASD, this should not come as a great surprise. And then your arrow keys on the right are what shoot, kind of exactly like Binding of Isaac, actually. So, if you like that, if you like Binding, it's great. The big difference is that whereas Binding of Isaac's full run usually takes anywhere from, I've never completed it, but from what I've watched on Northern Lions videos, anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes. This one's more like 15 to 25 minutes. It allows you to do, the whole game a lot shorter time, so you can, do other things with your time. That's the particular niche I feel this falls into. Whether it's meant to or not, I don't know. But yes, this is a particularly interesting boss fight. Well, I don't know about particularly interesting, but you can see what this is going into. It's basically just dodge until she becomes vulnerable again, and then hit her. And you can actually see her walking around in the chalkboards, which I thought was a neat little touch. Because so many times in games like this where someone goes into a mirror, of whatever the case may be, and they just disappear and appear somewhere else. This is when you can see her running around. I don't know how much work that took, but I appreciate the effort that the creators went into doing that. But that's just me. I'm easily impressed with a lot of things, folks, but yeah, I think that's a positive, not a negative, because I'm easily entertained. Darn it. Isn't it always right when the boss is about to die, they go invincible? It is. Always in games like that for me. But this is one of the easier bosses, I must say. I'm making it look a lot more difficult than it really is here. But this is actually one of the easiest bosses. I will say this run I got the easiest bosses back to back to back to back. And after every floor, you get to choose which floor you go to next. I am not going to probably sit here so you can read all of that, but the things you want to pay attention to are the bottom paragraphs, because they summarize what's up with the path you're going in. Excuse me. There are some floors that are just way too big, and they even say, you know, the floor's too very large. There's some that the floor's on fire. There's some where you take more damage, where I think you deal more damage, but you take more damage. I don't know. There's a lot of different variations, so the game never really feels stale. As long as you like the gameplay, it's fun no matter, you know, when you play it. And that's the mark of a good game if you just go back to playing it, because I'll still go back and play this from time to time. I don't sit all day and play it, but, you know, you go back every month or two, go back, play through the game once or twice. Get your money's worth that way, because I think it was only like $5 or $10 when I bought it. I've gotten more than my money's worth so far. And there's a pretty decent variety, considering how cheap the game is, of enemies. I mean, I don't know what you want to call these trash can heads. They're a little annoying, just because you can't do crap for damage until you take away their trash can lid by hitting them, but yeah, that apple juice thing, that's how you heal. I probably should have went over that earlier because I used it. But you just hit Q, and then you heal. You probably want to save those for the final boss fight, because the final boss fight is a hell of a thing. I mean, that is, it will challenge you. That's where I die, if I'm going to die every time. Every time. Now, there are, I think, vending machines, which are kind of like stores, obviously, that I don't remember what the currency is now I think about it. I think it's your tokens. I don't remember, honestly. But yeah, while I'm rolling around here, these are the things that if you don't have move speed, this fight is quite a bit more difficult. It's not impossible because of the chairs or desks scattered around, but it's a lot more difficult. Let's see. Here's another easy boss, as long as you actually have situational awareness and don't just tunnel vision. So you know I'm going to get hit here at some point because I'm not good at situational awareness. But it's kind of like a dance more than anything. And it really reminds me of, oh crap, what was that fight? Oh crap, I forgot the boss name in that one MMORPG. Oh crap. Well, this reminds me of an MMO boss fight. You gotta dodge the AoE. You gotta hit it when you can. I guess that really goes for any kind of game, doesn't it? I've just been playing a lot of MMO, so I'm kind of stuck on that right now. So sorry about that, but yes, the only problem is a lot of bosses are, I don't want to say dumb. That's my fault there. I don't want to say dumb, but they just repeat the same thing. Once you figure out the pattern, it's really just a matter of execution, which, now that I think about it, is pretty much exactly like Binding of Isaac again, so I guess that's not really a big con, now is it? I mean, I don't know about you, I've never really had a problem with, I don't play Binding of Isaac that often, so I don't remember boss names. All I remember was a big, jumping, what looked to be a thing of pudding. I don't remember what it is, though. Well, crap. There is another dragon, I think it's called Frothy the Inanimate, or something like that. That is a bit more entertaining, but yeah. You see the red, like, rewards 6? That's your currency where you can unlock bonuses, which we'll get into at the end of the video, so you can see what's going on. So, yeah, the first floor you only get 2 choices, then 3 choices, and I think another 3 after that, and then I think the boss or something. I don't remember the level layouts as such, but I believe I ended up choosing damage because I already had enough move speed. I didn't really need any more, and damage is always a good thing. I've yet to run into a situation in this particular game where you go, crap, I wish I didn't kill that fast enough. Or I wish I didn't kill that as fast. Like, that's not a problem you ever really have. Come to think of it, I'm not sure why I opted for the fire level. It's actually quite a bit more difficult to not, you know, accidentally walk into the fire, but it's good practice, because you're going to have to practice movement, because a lot of the boss fights are reliant on picture-perfect movement. So it's really fun. Only problem is when you start getting special traits like I have right now, where if I attack while I'm standing still, actually that's... I'm sorry, that's later in the video. I don't have that quite yet. Whoopsie. Spoiler. Well, I guess now you know I get an attack modifying thing later, but if I didn't have that, I don't think I would have beaten this particular run through. Let's just put it that way. And come to think of it, I don't know if you can actually pick up the juice box now, but I think I just left it because I wasn't sure. And I know the red, like the, I don't want to call these elite enemies, but the red enemies can be annoying. But as long as they're not like that particular enemy, it's not that bad. The only reason that was really any difficult is because there's just you know, damage everywhere. Oh, there we go. One shot when not moving. So if I move, I only get one shot as usual. But if I don't, you basically get two, which is both have a chance to crit. But this is the other one. Suzy the Inanimate. You gotta use that to block his attacks, but you can't forget about his ice shards as well. And repeat ad nauseum, because it's basically the whole fight. Like I said, the bosses are fun, they're just not really complex. Once you get the strategy, you're pretty much set. Just don't screw up then. But that's old school games for you. Remember Mega Man? I remember Mega Man, I love Mega Man. Great fights, it's just once you knew the strategy, it was easy. And that's no fault of the game, that's just the way it is. Oh man, I want to play Mega Man X4 now. I mean, X and X3 were great, I never played X2 all that much, but that's getting way off topic and not really suitable for this, but I'm sorry about that. Once I start thinking about Mega Man, then I keep thinking about Mega Man because that was an awesome game. But anyway, you can pretty much see how this game plays out. The only reason I'm still continuing to go through this is because I had a heck of a time beating this boss, and that was kind of like the highlight of this whole run, so I'm not going to just stop right now. Plus, it's only 20 minutes. We're already 12 minutes through, so why not just take the time to do it now? Now, I'm doing things inefficiently. I think you're supposed to go and explore. I guess that's the final thing there. You're supposed to go and explore your levels a little more than I'm doing for power-ups and whatnot, but that's too much darn work, man. That's too much work. This room is evil, by the way. Just evil incarnate. Or maybe I'm just bad. I think it's just because I'm bad, but that room's annoying just because of all the clutter everywhere. Now, the boss in this... The final boss, which I don't think this is the room. No, this is definitely not the room. The final boss has a lot of projectiles. It's almost like a bullet hell. If you've never played a bullet hell game, well, you're in for a surprise if you play this game. Because there's a lot of projectiles, and you gotta dodge them. You gotta dodge a vast majority of them, or you're not gonna survive. Because I think while they only do 7 damage a hit, I mean, there's a lot of them. You can get hit by, I think, 2 at a time, 2 or 3 at a time, and that'll end you pretty quickly. I don't remember which one I chose here. I think I chose Hound of Erasersville. I think. I'm not quite sure, but because I don't think I really needed more move speed. And I wasn't really exploring a whole lot where the other bonus could really come in handy. I almost got hit by that. There's the boss. Now this boss sucks. And I don't mean that this like isn't fun. I mean it sucks as in this will probably kill you a vast majority of the time. Because if you try and brute force this, as you'll see I'm going to try and do it, it gets a heck of a lot more difficult. And the reason I did this is because I've been playing way too much Final Fantasy XIV, where everybody's just like, let's just AoE the crap, let's just ignore everything and just burn down the boss. And that strategy is not a wise strategy here. You're supposed to kill these ads as they spawn, instead of trying to dance around them like I am. Which I might add, I'm doing a fairly decent job of it, surprisingly. Holy crap. This is a lot of crap to dodge, man. I like to think I'm not doing too bad of a job. I think this is the point where I realized, yeah, I gotta take care of these things, otherwise I'm just gonna die. It should be noted that at this point, I have never beaten this. Never once. So that should put in perspective just how much trouble I have with this fight in general. Especially with all the wandering chalk clouds and all that crap. But like I said, that double shot is a godsend, because without it, oh man, that extra damage is so nice. Only problem is you can kind of put yourself into a corner, and well, that's just not good. Because, well, and now the main boss comes out. That is the main boss. I thought that was just a regular enemy. No, that's the main boss right there. The only point to killing the structures at this point is to try and stop the spam of projectiles, which, as you see, is pretty much ruining my life right now. And yes, it's kind of bullet hell-like, but it's not so bad that you can't dodge it. Usually, unless you put yourself into a really bad place, and then you might not be able to dodge it. But that's kind of on you at that point. And that guy has a lot of health. I remember that much. I remember this part of the fight was the longest just because I was trying not to get hit. Because I was out of juice boxes. I have no regen left at this point. And regen, well, it's like a safety net that makes you feel good. Or at least it's me. At least it does me. I like being able to go, oh, well, I can screw up once or twice. That's not a good mindset to be into. I can screw up once or twice is not what you should be aiming for. Generally in games. Sometimes you can get away with it, but not generally. This is a very dangerous thing to do, yeah. Because at the time I didn't know those release chalk. Because I'm just going to tell you, the furthest I'd gotten before this attempt was I destroyed maybe one section of the top buildings. So, you know that feeling in games where that boss fight keeps kicking your butt and you never get out of the first phase? And then you get out of the first phase and you just panic? That's basically the mindset I was in this entire fight. So, if I make a stupid decision here or there, that's why. So hopefully you can excuse my rather poor play here at times. It's like a boss in Dark Souls. Like, if you've never beaten a boss in Dark Souls or Demon Souls or never even played any of those games, you get nervous because I don't want to screw up now. You've went this far, and if you die in this, you start all over again. It's a roguelike, folks. It's not forgiving. So you gotta keep that in mind. I'm about 4 hits away from having to start all over again if I wanted to do this. And that's just nerve-wracking. And now I'm down to 3 hits before I'm done. Will I actually kill this thing? It sure doesn't look like it. I'm sorry, I can't come up with any more commentary because this is basically just how do I commentate just, you know, rolling around in a circle while trying not to get hit by a dude with a hammer. Or 2 hammers, I'm sorry. I don't know how to do that. Unless I just want to go, you know, sportscaster on you here. Which I'm not really good at that. Oh, sure, I could just... You know who else had a good fight against this guy? Brett Favre. No, I'm not John Madden, okay? I wish I was, because man's rich, but I'm not. I'm sure there's probably arguments on whether you want to actually kill all the buildings on this you know, strategy of this game, but I don't know. And for all I know, there might be different bosses. This is the only time I've ever gotten this far. As far as I know, this is the final boss. There might be like a multitude of different bosses, because the game, that's a stupid one, the game actually has a lot of different bosses. For all I know, this is only one of 5 or 10. I don't know that. I haven't looked it up. That's the hope, that this is not the only final boss. You know, I'd like a Sudsy the inanimate. Not Sudsy, but, you know, a different kind of fight, and I was so happy that I finally did it. So yes, that's actually the entire game. Like I said, it's a short game. You can get 2 or 3 games of this in that you could get 1 Binding of Isaac. Is it worth it? That's if you like the art style. If you like the art style like I do, and you like the setting, it's worth every penny. If you think the gothic, or I don't know if it's gothic, but if you think the darker art style is you might want to give it a pass. But there are upgrades, namely the counselor. As you see, you get more juice box capacity if you give her so much of the red crystals. And if you're interested in my general stats, there you go. There's not very good. 3 deaths, 1 victory. And you can actually spend, like I said, your crystals for different things. Like, for example, that. I don't usually do that, but you can do it if you want a little leg up. So, remember that. And that's pretty much it. It's a simple game, but by no means bad. And that's about it. I think I was trying to figure out how to get back to the main menu because I hit exit and it didn't actually work. But yeah, you just hit escape is how you properly do it. And thank you guys very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this in some way, shape, or form. And as always, if you'd like to help support the channel, help it grow, you may wish to like or even subscribe for easier access to future videos. Farewell everyone, until next time.